This is the Ezra podcast, and we had a great performance this past weekend. Conversations that he should be in your pound for pound performance, and I'm gonna get into that because I don't think no one really does a pound for pound the way I do. I don't think anyone does. So the way that you guys do it and the way that everybody else does it, I mean, there's a debate to be had. I think people may fight me on it, but I think there's a debate. There's definitely a debate to be had. But let's get to the card. And I have it behind me. Let's just start off with it right now. This is the Sor Rungvisai versus Rodriguez card. Rodriguez versus Sor Rungvisai. Um, it was on paper decent card. On paper, it was going to be some competitive matchups, excellent matchups, and that's kind of like what you want. Sometimes they're not all fights are going to deliver. Not all cards are going to deliver. What you want is excitement going in, something to get you to tune in and see. Now, if you get a great fight from it, and you keep getting great matchups, you're bound to get some great fights. But sometimes they don't deliver. They don't deliver in great fights, but this one delivered in, I thought, two great performances. I really did. So we could start off with the first fight will be, well, let's talk about the main event. I always get to the biggest fight. So let's go to the Jesse Bam Rodriguez versus Sor Rungvisai. And Bam Rodriguez, who had moved up to 115, short notice, fought Quadras, beats him. Impressive victory, especially with all the moving up. Really his first real big step up fight against a veteran like Quadras. Then he goes and turns around and fights Sor Rungvisai. So this is a man on a mission. This is a man that's super confident in his abilities. And he really believes that he's the best fighter in the world. And he feels like he could take out these guys who are, consistent players at 115, which is, to me, the best division in boxing. To me, that's the most depth. It's the most talent in boxing over. If you first put it versus every other weight class, I think 115 is the best. And this is a guy that said, I'm the best guy at 115. In his mind, he truly believes that. And he goes to fight Sor Rungvisai. And in the fight when I broke it down, it kind of played out exactly how I broke down. I thought that his movement, the ability to turn Sor Rungvisai was going to really eliminate a lot of the things Sor Rungvisai could do, because Sor Rungvisai can hit you if you stand in front of him. If you stand in front of SSR, he could put some big shots on you. He could be creative with his shots, and he hits. He has thudding shots, powerful shots. But Bam was never going to let him do that. Bam was going to keep turn him into shots. And defensively, what I said about Bam, what he needed to do was not get greedy in this fight. He couldn't get greedy, right? You're going to land at will. But you can't get greedy because that's going to give Sor his opportunities. He never got greedy. And his defense was better than I even imagined. It was an elite defensive performance. And I think that was his best quality, honestly, of the night was his defense. Because I didn't know if he could stay consistently like that. A lot of times, defense and all that takes mentality. It takes a discipline. Just how his offense is so disciplined, his movement is so disciplined. He would need that for his defense. He kind of showed me that he could do it all. He kind of showed me that he had all the abilities you really needed the ring to be elite. He has them all. He could fight defensively. He can fight offensively. He can box. I already told you about his 1-2s, the straight 1-2s. His straight jab, his straight left hand there's no fat on him. Like, as I said going into it, I was like, there's no fat on him. And no one's talking about it because he has so much other things that you can talk about, that you kind of look past the basics that he has, but he has that too. So he did what I thought. He was going to turn Sor Rungvisai. Sor Rungvisai couldn't get anything going. He was teeing off on him, but he was doing it in moderation. He wasn't getting greedy, right? And then he even dropped Sor Rungvisai, and I thought it was off of, because Sor Rungvisai was turning off balance, and he drops him. I didn't really think that he was truly hurt, but maybe these were the signs of him cracking, right? The all the shots he was taking, they were starting to add up. And I didn't pick a stoppage in this because I thought Sor Rungvisai's chin would be able to hold up. We have evidence of him having a strong chin, of being able to hold up against good punchers, great punchers, and guys would put a lot of number of shots on you. It held up. I knew that Bam was going to land a lot of shots. I knew that Bam was going to be able to tee off on him. Maybe this will kind of shift my view. If I feel that he's going to land that many shots, you kind of should pick the stoppage, because no matter how good the chin is, there's only so much a man could take. And that's what happened in this fight. Is he did get dropped off balance, I thought, but then slowly was breaking down. I think those were the signs of it. And he gets stopped in this fight. And Bam has just really an elite performance, a perfect performance, not a lot to criticize. You would have to really, really, really dig deep in this fight to find something to really criticize on him. And he just really shows and plants his flag that he might be the best 115-pound fighter in the game right now. He says he's going to go back to 112. So he's treating these weight classes, which are only like 3 pounds away from each other. he's using that to his advantage of being able to drop back and forth. And there's some tough competitions at a tough competition at 112 as well. It seems like he wants to give his brother a chance at some elite competition, who is Joshua Franco. And there's talks of him fighting Estrada. That seems to be the next fight. Chocolatito doesn't seem to have an opponent yet. Maybe Bam is a future opponent for Chocolatito after he comes back up for 112. But right now they want to see Franco get his opportunity. His brother, same camp. See him get his opportunity against the elite. And you might have two brothers here to take over the division. Now, I don't think Franco is as good as Bam, but he is a talented fighter and he's a very good fighter. And I think that him versus Estrada is a very tough fight. And it's I would favor Estrada in it, but I would not be stunned if Franco beat him at all. That's how the talent level that Franco has. Now, I don't think he's Bam. Let's say I think Bam right now, and this might, I don't hear a lot of people saying this, but I think Bam, I would favor him over El Gallo and Chocolatito. I really would. I'd favor him over them right now. Now, Chocolatito might be, not might be. I think it definitely is a little bit more on the downside of his career, but he's still an elite fighter right now. And I would favor Bam over him. Now, would I favor Bam, this version of Bam over the best version of Chocolatito? That's a completely different conversation. I really feel like. I feel like that he's come down just enough to where Bam is right now rising up that I could favor him. That's not saying that that's the Chocolatito of old, where at his peak form could he beat him. He would give Bam a lot of problems because his work rate, right? And the way Bam fights, it takes a lot of energy to do that. It takes a lot of energy to stay in the pocket and stay in punching range and turning your fighter a lot. It takes a lot on your legs. Like, that's a lot of cardio that's needed. So if you notice the Quadras fight, there was a point where he dipped in energy. I didn't see that in this fight, but there was a point in the Quadras fight where he dipped in energy. There was a point where I thought it was going to happen for Sor Rungvisai, but it never actually happened. He kept it consistently. If Chocolatito kind of forces him to keep moving because of Chocolatito understanding, his work rate and understanding the distance and kind of keeping Bam in a situation where he's constantly having to work and do something, and so Chocolatito isn't just teeing off on him and forcing Bam to work at a higher rate too, and forcing Bam to really open up his offense. I think at the highest level, Chocolatito could probably do that and give Bam a world of trouble, and I think his cardio might be coming to question late. As far as right now, I think it's still a tough fight. I think it's still a very good fight, but I would favor Bam in it. I think El Gallo, you see what Bam did to Sor Rungvisai and Quadras. I think El Gallo is very talented, but I don't think he has the power to change that kind of fight. I think the way he fights is he's very skilled. Estrada is very skilled, but I don't know if he's dynamic enough for a guy like Bam. I don't think he's going to be able to show enough and give him enough different looks or have something in his game to really, make Bam respect. I don't think he would. I don't think he has anything for Bam to respect. And I think Bam would come in there very confidently. Now, we got to see how the Franco matchup goes, right? Like I said, I think that's a tough matchup. But if El Gallo could pull out the Franco matchup, that does build a good storyline for him versus Bam. So let's see how that plays out. It seems like he's going to go to 112. The rumor I hear, and I've heard this from J-Bro on Boxing Twitter, is that he's going to go fight El Rey down at 112. And that's actually a matchup for him. And that's going to be another notable win. He's going to rack up 3 notable wins in a row if he beats El Rey, which I would favor him to do. So he's not it doesn't look like he's looking to take a break at any point or take a take a give me fight. He looks like he's here to make, like I said, the confidence on Bam right now is sky high, and he's not looking for any give me fights. He's looking to, I'm here now, I'm going to make a run. And to me, at this weight class, there's not a lot of stars. It's not a money division. I really think that he has a chance to be a star at this weight division. At 115 pounds, 112 pounds, I think he has a very good chance to be a star. There's a few things of why he's Mexican. If there's a good, talented, elite level Mexican fighter, Mexicans will find him. Has a charismatic style. I don't know if we talk about that enough, but when you watch him on TV, everything he does is smooth. My friend Broadway, I follow Broadway's YouTube page for boxing. He's the voice of Dominican boxing, but he described him as a skater, an ice skater. Like, he's constantly in motion. Everything looks smooth. it looks good on TV. Like when you watch it, it's fun to watch. Even if he's smoking the guy, it still looks good and you still want to see it. For those two things alone, right? And him taking out elite level competition, constantly facing the best of his division, I think there's a chance that he could be a breakout superstar at the lower weight classes. I think it seems like there's a formula there for success in that. Talking about Sor Rungvisai, where does he go from here? If he walked away right now, and I'm sure he might have like a farewell fight if he was choosing to hang up the gloves. He could do that. I think that, a lot of people want to say that he's washed. I think that will start coming out, right? People will saying, oh, he's washed and that's why that happened. And now he's especially washed. He got stopped, right? And destroyed by Bam. I still think that Sor Rungvisai is talented enough to compete with the other guys in the top 10. He probably won't beat a Chocolatito right now. He probably won't beat El Gallo. But there's guys coming up in the middle of the pack, right, that I think that he'd be very interesting against. I still think that there'd be some quality matchups for him, and he's an entertaining fighter. I just think that he ran into, one of the elites in the division right now, and I don't think that's ever going to change. That result's going to ever change. And I don't ever think that at the highest level he's going to be pulling off wins like that. But like I said, the division's super deep. There's other names that he could fight that would still be very interesting. Like a Maloney, honestly. Like a Maloney would be a very interesting fight that I would like to see. But like I said, if he hung it up too, that would make sense as well. This is a guy that fought basically all the names at 115 in his era, right? Win some, lose some. He had a knockout win over Chocolatito. Like, that's going to be a hard win to surpass by any of these guys. He has wins over Quadras, he has wins over Estrada. I mean, you can't get past that. That's a great resume that he has against high level elite talent. And if he walked away, that's I'm saying that's what he's walking away with. There's absolutely no shame in that. It's a legend to me in the sport. But if he kept going on, I still think there's good fights for him. I still think there's some paydays for him and some interesting matchups. But we gotta see where Bam goes. And I was talking about the pound for pound, right? And my pound for pound, resume pound for pound, it's all about what you've done in the ring and who you beat. But everybody else's pound for pound is just make believe, right? It's just a make believe on who you think would win a fight, basically a mythical matchup if they were the same weight class. And like I said, there's so many flaws to the thinking of that. But if I did think like that, I don't know how Bam wouldn't be in your top 10. You would basically have to go against everything that you say what a pound for pound list is. You would have to go against it to not have Bam in your top 10. This dude has excellent leg movement. He showed elite defense. You can't deny the offense, right? His punching ability, the high, what's the word I'm looking for? The wide range of shots he has, the way he could set up his shots, the activity rate, right, of that he's working at. It's just all these things. There's no way you could tell me that this guy and the skill level you're seeing and everything you're seeing him do in the ring against high level competition, this guy isn't a top 10 talent for you. So everything you guys tell me where you could just do it off of talent and just off the eye test, if your eyes ain't telling you this guy's top 10 pound for pound just on talent alone, I don't know what to say. I'd probably throw away your list. Talent, the way you guys do pound for pound, where everybody does pound for pound, this guy should be on it. On my resume pound for pound, he's right there knocking on the door. Right? It's right him and Chocolatito for that number 10 spot. I'm still going to favor Chocolatito over him right now because Chocolatito just destroyed El Rey. Right? Beat Yafai and had a controversial loss against Estrada. To me, that shows that that's still a hell of a resume. Even if I'm going from 2019 to present, he's still showing he's at that level. Rodriguez is right there. Rodriguez is number 11. He's right there with him. And their next fights might settle it. Rodriguez is going to fight El Rey, who's a measuring stick fight against Chocolatito, but at El Rey's a division that's probably better for El Rey at 112. This huge Chocolatito fights is kind of interesting situation that he's in because the El Gallo fight is there for some reason. El Gallo is being advised to take a Franco fight, which is less money and less of a name and less credit if he wins it, right? And people are saying it's a tune-up, but it's not a tune-up. I promise you that's not a tune-up fight. That's a tough fight for him to win. If he wins and you can say, I told you it was tune-up, that's a tough fight. I'm that to say that the tune-up is really is doing unfair injustice to Estrada on taking that tough fight. It really is, because that is a really tough fight to take for when he has Chocolatito there, a tough matchup with a way bigger payday and way more reward for that wrist. So let's see how it plays out. Another thing I wanted to talk about was just these lower weight classes, and the opportunity that they're getting, right? The TV time, the screen time, and why why it's happening now. HBO at the end was having the Superfly nights and all that, and they were doing that, but that was mostly because of budget situation, right? They really couldn't afford the big names anymore, and it was winding down, and they were throwing shows on that they had to throw on there, but they weren't really trying to spend, so they were getting a little creative with it. But the little guys are delivering now, and why it's happening now with all the different networks and all the different promoters spread to the networks, right? Why right now is the little guys, the women's boxing, why is it exploding? Why is it having success now? It's because it's getting an opportunity. And when you have so many shows and they have to fill so many shows and you got to have main events, and the same thing that happened in the UFC, you're gonna have to expand the roster, right? And you're gonna have to find high level talented fighters. And if, let's say, you were going from lightweight to welterweight to middleweight to light heavy to heavyweight, right? And you were doing that on HBO and Showtime, but now you're like, I need to get more guys, and you're not going to go deeper than the bottom, the top 15 of a weight division and say, like, let me get 25 and 35. You know what I mean? You're not going to do that because the talent level is really going to drop off. It won't be entertaining, and you can't put that as a main event. So what do you have to do? You have to go find where are there high level fighters that we haven't used before. We haven't really put them out there, or they needed to find high level fighters that could have good fights, and they could make sense of putting them on a headline. So what did they do? They got the lower weight divisions, right? The weight divisions that were ignored. Talking about 118, even 122, 118, 115, 112. They got those weight divisions. They were like, okay, we need to fill spots. These are the guys we're going to go and put them on main events because we need to fill cards. And then they got women's boxing, which you see it definitely looks like it's growing and getting main event spots and on main cards, right? And you weren't getting that for a while. And before, when you had like HBO and Showtime, it was a promoter and network telling you, them taking their chance and thinking this guy's going to be a star, right? I'm not going to show you all the other stuff. I'll just show you this guy. He's going to be a star. And them telling you what they thought was going to be a star. Now what you're getting is everyone's on TV. You could watch anyone fight. And the stars are making themselves. The network and the promoters, sometimes it's going to happen on accident for them. They won't even know what they have. Like Alicia Baumgartner. They didn't know what they had there. She goes in there. She beats Terry Harper. I don't think they're probably expecting that. She smokes Terry Harper, and now Lisa Baumgartner covers fights. Now she talks on the zone. Now she's gonna have a big fight with Meyer, and they didn't see that coming. They never thought that coming. They would never give her that chance if they didn't have to fill cards and put all these fights on TV and let the people decide what they really want to see and what catches their attention. That's what's happening now. You're not having promoters are going to luck into some stars now. You're going to start seeing this happen where these are not going to be the guys. A lot of the stars are going to come. They're going to be guys they had no idea were going to blow up like that. And if they would have been HBO Showtime, they probably would never even made it on the screen. And the UFC had a lot of this. They had Dana White was completely against women's fighting. He gets women's fighting, and Ronda Rousey blows up. She becomes huge, a huge name for the sport. Conor McGregor, for years they weren't calling him in, right? As soon as he comes in, then the people like the way he talks, and he starts grabbing attention little by little, and it just blows up. A lot of the times, right? These stars are going to come out of nowhere, and because the way fighting works down, the way that everybody's getting opportunity, everybody's getting screen time, the promoter his job is honestly just to fill cards down. It's not as challenging as it once was, where he had to find a star and he had to be able to see it first and all that. He doesn't. He just throws it out there kind of at this point, and it happens. And look at Bam now, right? Look at Bam. Like, Bam could be an absolute superstar. I don't know if he would have had the same opportunities if it was in the old model with HBO and just Showtime running everything. I don't know if he would have. I can't say for sure that he would. On the co-main event, we have MJ versus Ronny Rios. This fight went, especially early on, went exactly kind of how I thought it would go. The success that MJ had was exactly he was exactly in the positions where I thought he would have success at range, using his back and forth movement. I don't think that he turns the corners all that well. I don't think he has the most skilled legs. I think he has athletic legs. I think if he can fight in the way that he wants to fight, I think he's a little bit one dimensional, but at that dimension, he's very good. If you can get him out of that dimension, that's where I think it gets shaky. But the thing with Ronnie Rios is he never really, he went in there, he kind of boxed, they kind of fought in the middle of the ring. I think he felt good about how competitive that felt, but he was never winning that fight, and he was never going to win that fight. At early on, he was having like, hey, I kind of belong in here. And it kind of seemed like a guy stepping up and sparring for the first time with like a high level pro. And he's at some points he's like, I'm just happy to be competitive in here. I'm not going to take any dumb chances to get embarrassed. And that's what I kind of felt about Ron Rios. I kind of felt like he was accepting of just kind of feeling good in the middle of the ring, but he wasn't winning the fight. And then at points, as the fight goes on, MJ is going to get more comfortable in a position that he's better at Ron Rios. And he stepped it up. Ron Rios was not able to step it up from that point. From the first bell, that was the best he could fight at that range, at that distance, in that style. That wasn't MJ's best. MJ was still figuring it out. He was still getting his timing, his distance. And when he started stepping it up, he kind of, Rios became a punching bag. And then when MJ found the body, it was almost over at that point. Now, the weird thing is he hurts his hand. That's what they say happened. And then he stops going to the body. Now, that could be because his hand was hurt. That makes sense. And I pointed this out. I tweeted it out. I was like, hey, it's kind of weird. He never went back to the body. The next round, he goes back to the body and gets a stoppage. MJ, was kind of becoming, at 122 pounds, he was kind of just becoming the guy in the way of Undisputed. Like if Fulton was just going to run through him the same way Inoue's, like you kind of use him like the same way we're using Butler for Inoue. It's like he was just a guy that had the belt that was stopping Fulton from being Undisputed. And I think that this performance, it reminded me of the level that MJ is. Like I said, I don't know if he has to make adjustments. I don't know if he can fight any other way. But I do know that the style he has, and if he can, he's good enough to fight that way and use that style. And he's good enough to keep that going and not allow you to make him make adjustments. I think he's going to be very competitive with Fulton or Inoue. I really do. I'm not saying he wins those fights, but I'm just saying if he could keep it at that range, he'll be competitive with anyone. The problem is, I think Fulton could force him out of that range. I think Fulton could really be the pressure fighter in that matchup. And I think if Fulton could get that fight on the inside, I think he would break MJ really bad. I think in a way, if he holds up, like we gotta also, he's moving up weight classes, multiple weight classes. I understand there's only a few pounds from each weight class, but at one point it's gonna be the last hay on the camel's back, right? And there's gonna be at one point where he's just too small. So we don't know how he reacts to the punches at 122. We don't know how his power is at 122. I'm assuming that it's going to be still elite for both. And in a way, he's one of the most skilled fighters in the world, right? That's why him and Fulton, who can both fight multiple styles and do multiple things in the ring, is such an interesting matchup. And if he can get MJ to start, he could cover the range at MJ, not allow MJ to just get out with his feet, and he's allowed to cover that range really quick and make MJ start reacting and fighting uncomfortable and fighting his spaces he doesn't want to fight. I would pick him to win too. I think I would pick both these guys to beat MJ just because they have the other dimensions to the game. But I don't want to say there's no way for MJ to win because I read that too. There's no way for him to win those matchups, and I don't think that's true. I do see a way that he can win. It's just very interesting on if he can keep that style going in a fight for 12 rounds. I don't think there's a bad matchup right now between those three at 122. There's also some other names like Aleem, Neri that are also very interesting at that weight class. It's a pretty talented weight class, and Inoue's not even officially in it yet, but we're throwing his name in there because we know that's where he's going next. If Inoue fought MJ next, I'd be very happy with that. If MJ fought Fulton next, I'd be very happy with that. If Fulton fought Inoue next, I'd be overjoyed with that. There's Aleem is still a tough fight if Fulton fought him or if fights Neri. Like, there's still very good fights. Now, there's a mandatory for MJ, so you have to see how that plays out. It seems like if PBC wanted to, they can, get in the way of that mandatory and get that full, and they could work out the networks, crossing over, whoever's going to cross over or joint or whatever they're going to do to make the Fulton MJ fight happen. That'd be great as well. Like I told you, there's no bad options right now, really, at 122. I think you have, Fulton in a way to me are the top dogs, but I don't think MJ is too far behind them. I would say, especially if he can keep the fight where he needs it. The fight before that to open up the card was Jessica McCaskill versus Alma Ibarra. And I told you that Ibarra could have success if she could keep the range, but she just wasn't athletic enough and didn't have the power enough to really keep McCaskill off her. And McCaskill kind of knew that going in, and she just put full pressure on her. She knew she'd break her. She did. She broke her mentally. Ibarra wanted out of there. She said, she told the corner, I don't want to fight no more. I just want to go home. People were quick to call her a quitter. They were, I get it. Yeah, I get what it looks like. We don't know what she's feeling in there. It's a big mental, it's a huge mental game. What boxing is, and mentally she wasn't there. Mentally, either she was broken or mentally going in there, she wasn't the most stable. And McCaskill was landing some big shots, and McCaskill is a mean fighter in there and has a high motor and is going to keep coming. She didn't want to be there anymore. And I think that's the right decision for her. If she don't want to be there anymore and something wasn't feeling good for her, she made the right decision for herself. She went in there. I didn't think that at the beginning that she wasn't trying to win it or she was looking to take a fall. I don't think that. I just think that she ran into something that she couldn't handle and her mind couldn't get past, right? And the challenge in front of her. And that was it. And she said, I'm done. And I'm okay with that. We don't know, like I said, we don't know what she's feeling. We don't know what she's going through. That's a very dangerous sport to not be in your right mind state and to be taking big shots like that. I'm if a fighter says they're done, and that's it. On to the next one. Now, I think that people are probably not going to put her on TV bouts anymore. But that's the part of the game. Those are the cause and effect of everything that happens. I thought it was a damn good card. I like I said, you didn't get maybe the great fights, but you got some good performances. And I think good performances to me are just as interesting sometimes as good fights. And what Bam did, there's no way to not watch that and not enjoy it and not get excited about it, especially if you're, a boxing fan, a true boxing fan. Maybe casuals maybe didn't comprehend it, right? Maybe you didn't know who Sor Rungvisai is. But if you're listening to me now, let me tell you, Sor Rungvisai, he's being some top names. He's been at the elite level, and what Bam did was an elite performance. That's the only way I could put it. It was a great performance. He's a guy that you're going to be watching for a lot of years. I really believe that, and I think that he's going to go on a hell of a run. And he already has 2 notable wins on his resume. He's the youngest world champion, and he's not going to stop. It don't look like he's looking to take any easy way out. It looks like all his next matchups are going to be very tough, and he's got a couple weight classes to do it in. And he's eventually going to move to 118 as well, so it's going to get very interesting. But this guy could be fighting all over the world. He'll be fighting all the names. He's going to go through guys, and if he's on your pound for pound now, which makes no sense to me in your guys' make believe world, he's going to be soon. There's no doubt about that. There's not going to be no stopping him. Thank you guys for listening. This has been the S Ra podcast.